The sutta tonight is the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, number 10 in the Majjhima Nikaya, the foundations of mindfulness. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living in the Kuru country, whereas there was a town of the Kurus named Kasasadama. There he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, venerable sir," there replied the Blessed One, said this, "Monks, this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for surmounting sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbāna, namely the four foundations of mindfulness." What are the four? Here, monks, a monk abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating feeling as feeling, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind as mind, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. Now we do the body contemplation, the mindfulness of breathing. And how, monk, does a monk abide contemplating the body as a body? Here a monk gone to the forest or to the root of a tree or an empty hut sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, sets his body erect, and establishes mindfulness in front of him. Ever mindful he breathes in, mindful he breathes out. Breathing in long, he understands I breathe in long, or breathing out long, he understands I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands I breathe in short, or breathing out short, he understands I breathe out short. He trains thus. The key word is understands. You know when you take a long breath and a short breath. So that's just the knowing. That's not part of the training yet. He trains thus, I shall breathe in experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe out experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe in tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus, I shall breathe out tranquilizing the bodily formation. Now that's the instructions in meditation, basically. When you're doing the loving kindness meditation, you relax your body. Every time there's any tension or tightness in your body, you tranquilize it. A lot of people say, well, when I practice one-pointed concentration, my mind becomes tranquil, and that's the same thing. And it's not. This is the process of taking an in-breath and relaxing, taking an out-breath and relaxing. Relaxing what? That membrane that goes around your brain, the meninges. So you're using the breath as the reminder to relax. You're not just focusing on one thing. This changes the entire meditation. Just as a skilled lathe operator or his apprentice, when making a long turn, he understands I make a long turn, or when making a short turn, he understands I make a short turn. So too, breathing in long, a monk understands I breathe in long. Or Or breathing out long, a monk understands I breathe out long. Or breathing in short, he understands I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands I breathe out short. He trains thus, I shall breathe in experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe out experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe in tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus, I shall breathe out tranquilizing the bodily formation. In this way he abides contemplating the body as a body internally, externally, or both internally and externally. He abides contemplating in the body its nature of rising and its nature of fading away or vanishing. And he abides independent, not craving and clinging to anything in the world. This is how a monk abides contemplating the body as a body. The 4 postures. You really have to be mindful of this one. Do you know when you're walking? Do you know when you're sitting down? Do you know when you stand up? Do you know when you lie down? That's it. Again, monks, when walking, a monk understands I'm walking. When standing, he understands I'm standing. When sitting, he understands I'm sitting. When lying down, he understands I'm lying down. Now, the key word again is understands. You don't have to put a lot of attention on it. You just know that that's the posture you're in. I suppose that's useful. If you're walking across the street, you know you're walking. You're not standing waiting for somebody to hit you.
But there is the point that a lot of people don't know because they walk around and they're in their brain, in their mind,
well,
thinking. So
they don't even know they have a body.
Yeah.
So this is just another slight way of getting people to pay attention to more of what they're doing while they're doing it instead of thinking all the time. Now, again, monks, a monk who is one who acts in full awareness when going forward and returning, who acts in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away, who acts in full awareness when flexing and extending his limbs, who acts in full awareness when wearing his robes and carrying his outer bowl and robe, his outer robe and bowl, who acts in full awareness when eating, drinking, consuming food and tasting, who acts in full awareness when defecating and urinating, who acts in full awareness when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. Awareness of
what they're doing. Present moment.
full awareness of Come on, you answered it before.
Yeah, object of meditation. The movement of their mind's attention.
Well, not so much movement, but just watching what mind's attention is doing when you're doing these actions. Okay, now we get to the foulness of the body. I'll run through this real quick. A monk reviews this same body up from the soles of the feet down to the top, reviews the body up from the soles of the feet and down from the top of the hair, bounded by skin, as full of many kinds of impurities. Thus, in this body there are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, mesentery, contents of the stomach, feces, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, spittle, snot, oil of the joints, and urine. That's what a body is made of. So you see some pretty little girl walking by and you see lust coming up, you turn her inside out, tell me what's beautiful.
I knew that was coming.
You got great smelling pus. So, and then it goes into the charnel ground contemplation, which we don't have the charnel grounds to contemplate anymore, so I won't go into that. Now we get into contemplation of feeling. Excuse me. And how, monks, does a monk abide contemplating feeling as feeling? In the book it has an S after it, which implies emotion, and this has nothing to do with emotion. Here, when feeling a pleasant feeling, a monk understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. When feeling a painful feeling, he understands, I feel a painful feeling. When feeling a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When feeling a worldly pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a worldly pleasant feeling. What's that?
A worldly pleasant feeling? Like this joy? Or I don't know, is it like when you see something you like?
Any of the sense doors, a pleasant feeling arises, and you identify with it. That's worldly. When feeling an unworldly pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel an unworldly pleasant feeling. What's that?
Sorry, that's a feeling that you don't like and you identify with.
It's a pleasant feeling, but it's unworldly.
Oh, unworldly. A mental idea? Sorry, I'm having difficulty focusing on what you're saying right now.
Unworldly pleasant feeling is a feeling that arises while you're in jhana. When feeling a worldly painful feeling, he understands, I feel a worldly painful feeling. What is a worldly painful feeling?
That's pain you feel when you're not in a jhana state that you don't like, you identify with.
Any painful feeling that arises at the six sense doors. When feeling an unworldly painful feeling, he understands, I feel an unworldly painful feeling.
Is that a painful feeling you feel in a jhana state?
That's called a pleasant abiding here and now. I don't think so.
It's a hard one, so don't.
Sorry.
These get everybody the first time.
Yeah.
It's a meditation pain.
Oh.
See, I couldn't give you that being in the jhana because you get knocked out of the jhana when that happens.
Like your headaches when you're trying too hard.
or that pain in your bottom, or the pain in your knee.
Or my cheeks from smiling so much.
Oh, that's a worldly unpleasant feeling, but it's not the same. This is unworldly we're talking about.
But you said a pain in your knee?
Right.
So it's still a pain.
It's a meditation pain. You recognize a meditation pain because as soon as you stop meditating and you get up and start walking, it goes away immediately.
Yeah, but you could say the same for if just sitting on the floor, not meditating, and reading a book. I mean, what's the
That's because you're identifying with it more.
Mhm.
And the meditation pain tends to pull you out of the jhana with your aversion to it. That's what makes it unworldly. Okay?
Right now, can I focus on what you're saying and not my object of meditation? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. When feeling a worldly, neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a worldly, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. What is that?
That's a feeling at the six sense doors that you don't identify as pleasant or painful.
It's pretty close. What is it? Come on, you got all those notes all over your book.
Let Jerry take care of it.
I know it, but
It's neither painful nor pleasant feeling at the sense doors.
that's what you just said.
Yeah,
But it's indifference,
yeah, different.
Difference, yeah.
because you don't pay attention to it. That means you don't have any mindfulness what's really there or not. When feeling...
She did have it.
She's just shy. When feeling an unworldly, neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel an unworldly, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. What is that?
So if it's unworldly, it's definitely not of the six sense doors. Is that a correct assumption, or?
Keep going.
Okay. So it's maybe a feeling in a meditative state that you don't notice, you're indifferent to?
No? You definitely notice it.
Well, that's the best I can come up with.
Equanimity. The difference between indifference and equanimity is indifference has no mindfulness in it, equanimity has strong mindfulness in it.
That makes sense.
Okay, now we get to the contemplation of mind. And how, monks, does a monk abide contemplating mind as mind? Here a monk understands mind affected by lust as mind affected by lust, and mind unaffected by lust as mind unaffected by lust. He understands mind affected by hate as mind affected by hate, and mind unaffected by hate as mind unaffected by hate. He understands mind affected by delusion as mind affected by delusion, and mind unaffected by delusion as mind unaffected by delusion. He understands contracted mind as contracted. What is a contracted mind?
Like, is that what we six are? That tightening in the mind? Understanding?
Some, but what is it?
Craving.
No.
Clean.
No.
Contracted mind.
Don't feel bad if you can't get it. Most people can't until they hear it. Contracted mind is a mind that has lust, sloth and torpor in it.
Sloth and torpor.
Your mind contracts, and then you get dreamy and distracted mind as distracted mind. What's a distracted mind?
Mind that's not on the present moment. What's the word?
You tell it to me every time you come down and talk to me. My mind is so
Restless.
Yeah.
Thanks for the hints.
he understands exalted mind as exalted mind, and unexalted mind as unexalted mind. What is an exalted mind?
So far, they've all been hindrances.
I'm not talking about hindrances. I'm talking about exalted.
Good. That's the good one.
A mind in a wholesome state.
Absolutely. Keep going.
A mind being mindful in the present moment, not being distracted.
That all describes the place.
What is that, though?
What is that?
Pressure is on. Do, 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 do,
It's
do,
meditation.
do.
Yeah, you're getting there. What part of it?
An exalted mind is a mind that experiences any of the first four jhanas. So you understand when you're in the jhana and when you're not, is basically what this is saying. He understands surpassed mind as surpassed mind.
Is that after the first four jhanas? Surpassed mind?
Yeah, but what does that say?
A mind that knows it's in the rupa jhanas?
Pick it up.
He understands a collected mind as collected,
I should know this one.
and an uncollected mind as uncollected.
Hasn't asked me yet.
You're right, I was projecting.
There's no question.
He understands liberated mind as liberated, and unliberated mind as unliberated. Liberated from what?
Suffering, ignorance. Liberated from
We said it before.
craving.
To be absolutely correct, it's ignorance and craving. Okay. Now we get to the contemplation of mind objects. And how, monks, does a monk abide contemplating mind objects as mind objects in terms of the five hindrances? Here, there being sensual desire in him, a monk understands there's sensual desire in me. Or there being no sensual desire in him, he understands there's no sensual desire in me. And he also understands how there comes to be the arising of the unarisen sensual desire. and how there comes to be the abandoning of the arisen sensual desire, and how there comes to be the future non-arising of the abandoned sensual desire. What did I just say?
The abandonment of the future non-arising?
No, let's start at the start. He understands there's how there comes to be the arising of the unarisen sensual desire. How does it come to be?
The craving. No. The arising of the sensual desire. How does it come to be?
Not being.
By not being mindful?
That's it. Okay. And how there comes to be the abandoning of the arisen sensual desire. How does that come to be?
Can I say mindful again?
Nope.
I mean, for us, it's the 6 R's.
That's right. And how there comes to be the future non-arising of the abandoned sensual desire. How do you stop it from coming up?
Or maybe I should say keep it stopped.
Stay on your object.
Oh my
Oh.
fantastic. Adam Sayadaw.
So you do the same thing with all of the hindrances. Okay. And then we have the 5 aggregates. Again, a monk abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects in terms of the 5 aggregates affected by craving and clinging. Now, the aggregates may or may not be affected by craving and clinging, depending on your mindfulness at the time. You can see it arise, but if you get caught by craving and clinging, now it's taking you away. The 5 aggregates are kind of interesting because they're actually 3 of the aggregates are concomitant. They're conjoined together.
Yeah.
You have body, you have feeling, you have perception, you have formations, you have mind. You have feeling, perceptions, and consciousness, or mind. And they're conjoined, not disjoined.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like that dependent origination, right? I mean, I feel like
Perception is not mentioned in dependent origination, although it is there. Because what you feel, you perceive, what you perceive, you cognize. So every link, you're using those.
Okay, I don't understand completely.
It will come. Patience. And how does a monk abide contemplating mind objects as mind objects in terms of the 5 aggregates affected by craving and clinging? Now, this is the ones that are affected by it. Here a monk understands such is material form, such its origin, such its disappearance. First 3 noble truths. That's how it arises. Such is feeling, such its origin, such its disappearance. such is perception, such its origin, such its disappearance. Such are the formations, such their origin, such their disappearance. Such is consciousness, such is its origin, such its disappearance. In this way he abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects, internally and externally, and all of those.
I don't know if I understand what that meant.
What?
The statements you made about each thing that is, arises, and ceases. Those were the mind aggregates that are affected by. Sorry, I guess I missed.
I don't know what you're asking.
Yeah,
Basically, what it boils down
big
to.
question right now. It's okay. Maybe we will just, I don't know, we should just move on there.
Well,
I don't want to make you.
such its origin,
Why was it talking about those again now?
because it's talking about the five aggregates
It's just,
and how they're affected by craving and clinging. And you see how it arises.
How
You
the
see
aggregates
the
arise?
cause of it, and you see its disappearance. How do you see its disappearance?
the aggregate or the craving?
The aggregate.
The aggregate? How do you see its disappearance?
It's pretty easy.
I mean, if perception disappears and you don't perceive. Oh, yeah.
I can't give you any more than that. I just told you the answer.
I didn't catch it.
5 and 1 is.
That's an R.
Oh, I see. That's what I think.
6 R's.
Oh.
Everything's a 6 R's. Haven't you learned that yet?
So that's how you notice an aggregate.
Well, when it comes up and it's affected by craving and clinging, yeah, that's how you notice it.
Yeah.
And that's how you let it go. And what's the origin of it? How does it arise?
Does it arise through the craving and clinging?
It arises before that. I hits color and form, I consciousness arises, the meeting of the three is called? Okay. With contact as condition,
Feeling arises.
with feeling as condition,
Craving arises.
with craving as condition.
Clinging arises.
That's how it originates. Okay? There's nothing to be sorry about. Now we have the 6 sense bases. And how does a monk abide contemplating mind objects as mind objects in terms of the 6 internal and external bases? Here a monk understands the I. He understands form, and he understands the fetter that arises dependent on both. What's the fetter that arises? Craving. See, the craving is a fetter.
Yeah. Consciousness is not a fetter.
Consciousness is not. Although it can be considered that sometimes. He also understands how there comes to be the arising of the unarisen fetter. How is that?
How does the craving arise?
Lack of?
Mindfulness.
Okay. And how there comes to be the abandoning of the arisen fetter?
6 R's.
And how there comes to be the future non-arising of the abandoned fetter? Staying on your object of meditation.
Staying on your object of meditation, yeah.
He understands the ear, and he understands sounds. He understands the nose, he understands odors, he understands the tongue, he understands flavors, he understands the body, he understands tangibles. He understands mind, and he understands mind objects. And he understands the fetter that arises dependent on both. And he also understands how there comes to be the arising of the unarisen fetter, how there comes to be the abandoning of the arisen fetter, how there comes to be the future non-arising of the abandoned fetter. Now, we have the 7 enlightenment factors. Again, a monk abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects in terms of the 7 awakening factors. Here, there being the mindfulness awakening factor in him, a monk understands there is the mindfulness awakening factor in me. Or there being no mindfulness awakening factor in him, he understands there is no mindfulness awakening factor in me.
How could he understand that? He'd have to be mindful to understand that.
Well, but you know when you're spacing out a bit.
Okay.
And you also understand how there comes to be the arising of the unarisen mindfulness awakening factor. How does that come to be? Taking an interest in,
Your object of meditation.
well, yeah, your interest in what his mind is doing at the present. And how the arisen mindfulness factor comes to fulfillment by development. Every time you 6R, you're fulfilling that. And that happens with all of the enlightenment factors. The next one is there being the investigation of experience. Then the energy enlightenment factor. Now the thing with the energy enlightenment factor is you're finding out, if you put in too much energy, you get restless. And when you don't put quite enough in, you get dull. So you have to keep balancing, even during the sitting. I mean, you see when your mind is getting restless, that is the key to remind yourself, back off with the energy, stop trying so hard. And smile and laugh with it. there being the joy awakening factor. Always after joy fades away, your mind gets really, really tranquil, peaceful, just and your mind tends to stay on your object of meditation. This is being collected in awakening factor. And as you stay with that, your mind gains more and more equanimity. That's the enlightenment factor there. So, this is pretty straightforward. The time you become truly awakened is when all of these factors are in perfect balance. And what you're doing is you're learning that balance right now. You're learning how important the energy enlightenment factor truly is. And you're learning how to adjust. And this is, everybody does. I mean, that's just part of the process.
Joy enlightenment factor, that's not necessarily just the joy that arises. That's also maybe the enjoyment you take out of
No.
meditating? Or no, it is.
But it's not the excited kind of joy that you have been talking about tonight.
Yeah.
This is a very kind of a calm joy. And it's a happy feeling, but you don't have the excitement. When you look at the Buddha's image, he's always got his eyes open a little bit. Well, the reason he has that happen to him is the joy makes your eyes open while you're sitting. So this is more like a tranquil kind of joy, just an enjoyment of everything as it gets in balance. You get more and more enthusiastic as you see that this stuff really works. And that kind of joy is the enlightenment factor. I wonder what's going to happen next, that kind of thing. Okay, now we got the Four Noble Truths. Now in the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, it doesn't go into detail in the Four Noble Truths. It just mentions each one of them. In the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, it does mention that. But it's such a poor translation that we have that it's very confusing. And the person that did the translation was not a monk, he was a layman. So he didn't really have too deep an understanding of what was being taught there, and that's got to be redone.
Yeah, I'd like to know what they really are, because I've heard so many different ideas about what the Four Noble Truths are.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't have to be tonight, but...
the Four Noble Truths are in each link. I can show you real quick. Okay. Monks, as to those ascetics and Brahmins who do not understand these things, first noble truth. The origin of these things, second noble truth. The cessation of these things, third noble truth. And the way leading to the cessation of these things, fourth noble truth. What are these things that they do not understand, whose origin they don't understand, whose cessation they don't understand, and the way leading to whose cessation they don't understand? They do not understand aging and death, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation. They do not understand birth. So it just all of the links of dependent origination. The link before what you're looking at is the cause of that arising. So that's what you're seeing. These I do not consider to be ascetics among ascetics and Brahmins among Brahmins if they don't understand it. And these venerable ones do not, by realizing it for themselves with direct knowledge in this very life, enter and dwell in the goal of asceticism or the goal of Brahmanhood. That means they can't attain Nibbāna if you don't see the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination, all of the links. And when you see that, you naturally see impermanence, suffering, and the impersonal nature of everything. So when you're seeing these things, you're not seeing just one thing. And you're seeing and understanding what it is, how it arises, how it ceases, and the way to make it cease. So many people just talk very generally about the Four Noble Truths, but it is the backbone. It is the main teaching, along with dependent origination. It is the main teaching of the Buddha. Without that, he's just like any other teacher, which is pretty remarkable, because just finding that and figuring it out is pretty good. I mean, he was one of the most advanced meditators in the world. He got up to the 8th jhana, so anything he pointed his mind on, he could keep it there and he could see it the way it actually was. And when he started seeing how dependent origination worked, I mean, it was earth-changing. And truly a remarkable thing. Now, in one sutta, in Sutta 15, in the longer discourses, Ananda just had the fruition experience of being a Satipaṭṭhāna. So he saw the links of dependent origination and how they worked. And he came to the Buddha and he was all excited and he said, I don't know what the big problem is. This is easy to understand. And the Buddha admonished him pretty heavily. No, it's not easy to understand. This is difficult to understand if you don't have a teacher that understands it. You have a teacher that understands it. It sounds simple. It's easy to understand when it gets explained to you. But just on your own, ain't no way. So anyway, this is the Four Noble Truths. He understands, here a monk understands as it actually is, this is suffering. He understands as it actually is, this is the origin, this is a cessation, this is a way leading to the cessation. Monks, if anyone should develop these 4 foundations of mindfulness in such a way for 7 years, one of 2 fruits may be expected for him. Either final knowledge here and now, becomes an arahat, or if there's a trace of clinging left, non-return. That's an anagami. let alone 7 years, monks. If anyone should develop these 4 foundations of mindfulness in such a way for 6 years, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 year, one of 2 fruits can be expected for him, either final knowledge here and now, and if there's a trace of craving and clinging left, non-return. Let alone 1 year. If anyone should develop these 4 foundations in such a way for 7 months, 6 months, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, half a month, one of 2 fruits can be expected for him, either final knowledge here and now, or if there's a trace of craving and clinging left, non-return. Let alone half a month, monks. If anyone should develop these 4 foundations of mindfulness in such a way for 7 days, one of 2 fruits can be expected for him, either final knowledge here and now, or if there's a trace of craving and clinging left, non-return. So, it was with reference to this that it was said, monks, this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbāna, namely the 4 foundations of mindfulness. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So, guess what you're being taught here?
It's like that's in the body.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually think I'd ever find someone who I thought could teach me like that.
Well, see how lucky you are? You ran across a Buddha. It is feasible, it is possible, it's just understanding. See, this is the whole thing, and this is the thing. The reasons why the hindrances are so incredibly important. It's because they teach you up front, right in your face, where your attachment is, and your mindfulness, if you're practicing in this way, will help you overcome those attachments. This is why I tell you that Buddhism is about change. And you have to be willing to change, and change is scary. Because you get real comfortable. I mean, you've seen a little kid being taken away from their mother after the mother's been burning cigarettes on them and doing all kinds of nasty things. And the little kid wants to go back to the mother because they know that what the mother is. They don't want to change. But that's the way we are. We don't want to change. We're very comfortable being the way we are. And as a result, it can scare some people. Because, well, I know who I am. I know how comfortable I am being this way. There has to be that strong curiosity to overcome suffering, to let go of the suffering. You see it so much, you just finally go, enough, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to change. And then you do it. And people look at me like I'm some kind of a weird person because you were here when I was eating sugar. And I just decided I don't want to do that anymore. So I didn't. So I don't eat chocolates, very seldom. I don't eat a lot of things from getting candies and that sort of thing. I do have one weakness.
Cinnamon gummy bears.
Cinnamon gummy bears?
Cinnamon bears are tough.
I think I've never had cinnamon bears.
Oh, they're good.
I've been thinking about that one.
No, don't think about them. I don't need them right now for sure. I'm just now starting to lose some good weight here.
They're very high in carbs.
Let's be void of cinnamon gummy bears.
But when I started on this diet, okay, I'm supposed to eat meat, I'm supposed to eat veggies, I'm supposed to eat salad. That's it. You don't know how much I like bread.
And potatoes.
And potatoes. And even rice every now and then. But I just made up my mind that that's what I was going to do, and I don't even have craving for the other things. So it's just a matter of learning how your hindrances work, and when you make up your mind you're going to let go of them, you do it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
I can understand that.
And for the first couple of days there might be craving arising, but after that it's like, don't care. I can walk down a candy aisle and not see any candies. But that comes from the meditation. Well, you're so disciplined. Well, yeah, I hope so. I've been practicing this kind of stuff for 35 years. You'd think I'd have some discipline, although I know some people that don't. They still get caught in their craving and clinging as much as the first day that they started. It's scary to change because you don't know what you're going to change into. But the thing with the Buddhist practice is he's so interested in having you have an uplifted mind that the change you go through is always a positive change. So you start letting go of the emotional ups and downs and that sort of thing. So the more you get curious about how these things work, the easier the meditation comes. And you have to remember that when hindrances come up, it's not why are they there. We don't care about that. How did they arise? How did they get there? That's the one.
I didn't realize until yesterday, after a week and a half of being here, yesterday I finally realized this is really useful when this comes up, and I can do something with it. I can see what happens.
Yeah?
And then once that started changing, then, today was good.
Easier anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you go through times it's easier, you go through times it's harder. It all depends on your attachment to whatever it is. So just continue on. Everything is moving along very nicely. And remember that this is your school right now. Only you don't have to study the books. Okay? Okay, let's do this. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief. May all beings find relief. May all beings find its merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty powers, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.